Hello, Jean Cregan, Director of Faith Formation at Holy Family. Those of you that have heard me speak in the past may have heard me use examples from my life as a mom and a parent to show the ways that I've grown in my relationship with God. I really feel like my role as a parent has had a profound impact on my relationship with God, and that I have learned so much about God through those relationships. Many years ago, when I first became a mom, I remember struggling with the time coming for me to go back to work. My oldest daughter is 15 now, but when she was a newborn, I had to go back to work and I was starting to feel anxious about it, and I didn't know what it was going to look like because I had just figured out how to be a mom. I decided to practice. I brought her to my sister's to drop her off for a couple hours so I could go to an appointment so that I could get used to this new kind of situation of dropping her off for longer periods of time. When I arrived at my sister's, I realized that I had forgotten to bring her formula. She was crying because she was hungry, and then I started to cry. My sister said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "If I can't do this day one, how am I going to do it day in and day out in my new normal? It just seems so overwhelming." She said, "You'll adapt. You'll figure it out. Wait and see. I promise. You'll adapt. But it's you that has to adapt. Kylie will be fine." I left that day teary-eyed in the car, and I remember praying out loud and asking God to help me pull myself together for my appointment in 10 minutes, but also be with us in the weeks ahead because my husband and I had some challenges to face in me going back to work. And he definitely was with us. But the weeks weren't easy. They were messy. There were days of tears and days of happiness, and there were days of grief, and then eventually that grief gave way to great growth. Our family grew exponentially during that time, and we learned so much about what it meant for my husband and I to be parents, as well as how to exist in the world with a few different identities, a few different ways of being. I am so grateful. We prayed a lot during those weeks, and I'm so grateful that God showed up in our messiness and helped us to adapt. My sister was right. I've been adapting for 15 years, and I'm so grateful that God gives us the gift to adapt. He's made us wonderfully in that way that we can adapt and change for so many situations, and I pray for that gift often. I had to pray for it again during the pandemic because the beginning of the pandemic was a little bit difficult for me. For my family, it was a little bit of a time to grieve. We were feeling like we were missing out on things, that we had lost things, that we weren't sure about this new normal. It took us a little bit of time, but in time, that grief gave way to growth. We figured out that the time was going to pass and we were going to be at home, so we needed to find a way to sort of embrace the days. And we did. We grew as individuals and we grew as family. And then we realized that this time of stay at home is changing now. After 8 weeks of settling in, a couple weeks of grief, 8 weeks of normal, now we're settling into a new normal. They're starting to lift restrictions, and that can make us anxious. There's so many things to think about right now: hand sanitizer and masks and 6 feet apart. I was feeling a little anxious yesterday morning when I awoke, and I did my Pray As You Go app. The opening song spoke these words: "What lies on the other side? Will you be with me? Will you travel this road with me? Close to you, I know I will be safe." And I realized that those words were just what I needed to hear. If I look back on my struggles, I've always seen a tension of grief and growth, and God has been in those messy situations with me each and every time. So even though I'm pretty sure that on the other side we'll see growth, the next couple weeks are going to be difficult. We're going to have to adapt. We're going to have to change. But I am pretty sure that on the other side of this struggle, there will be growth for me and for you too. I look forward to when we can come together and share how we've grown in our time apart.